It's still good morning, even if the sound's not on. Good morning, all, and welcome to the board meeting. I'm Felicia Marcus, chair of the board, and today is Tuesday, January 8th at 9:33 a.m., and the meeting is called to order. With me are, to my left, board member Dee Dee D'Adamo. To her left is board member Sean McGuire. To my right is board member Tam Dodek, and to her right is board member Joaquin Esquivel. Ms. Sobeck, will you let us know who's assisting today?
Yes, good morning, Chair Marcus. To my left is Chief Counsel Michael Laufer, and to my right are my two Chief Deputies, Jonathan Bishop and Eric Oppenheimer. Janine Townsend, Clerk of the Court, and assisting her is Courtney Tyler.
Thank you. Great. For those of you who aren't familiar, the building's emergency evacuation see, now I really am like out of practice. Procedures are when you hear an emergency sounding sound, gather your stuff, gather your friends, and proceed cautiously down the stairs. Look now for the exit nearest you. If you need assistance, one of us or someone will appear and will take you to a protected area if you can't walk down the stairs yourself. The meeting is being webcast and recorded, so it's important to speak into the microphone so it gets picked up. Just us hearing you isn't good enough because there are people who listen over the webcast. And of course, as always, silence any noise-making devices you may have on you. And with that done, we're on to the public forum, which is where we hear from anyone who has something to speak about that's not on the agenda, but we don't have anyone today. All right. And with that, let's consider the minutes of the December 11th and 12th board meeting. Is there a motion?
I think there was a correction that staff is aware of. Okay. With that, I'll move. Oh, Mr.
Yeah, I was
Miller?
just going to say for folks listening in, since it may not be corrected on the online version yet, it was just to reflect in the second motion on the Bay Delta item. It had the correct vote count, but it had a board member's name in the wrong slot. So all board members voted affirmatively on motion number 2.
Anything else? If not, I'll move for adoption.
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. So that carries. Next, item number 2. Current hydrologic conditions. Okay, now this is going to sound better.
Good morning and Happy New Year, board chair, board members, and all who are watching. I wish you all a successful, fulfilling, and healthy new year. And a wet new year, yes. So my name is...
Snowy.
Knowing exactly. My name is
Cold.
Vadim
Yeah,
Demchik,
cold.
engineer.
Cold.
Beggars can't be choosers.
Yes, all of that, all of the above, yes, everything that we would wish. Leslie's not with me today, but I'm Vadim Demchik, engineer with the Division of Water Rights, and here to present item number 2, hydrology update for the Bay Delta watershed. So looking at precipitation in our state, we got a boost in numbers from last weekend's storms. Unfortunately, these numbers are not up to date, but I guess that's not a bad problem to have. So as of yesterday, these numbers changed. For the Northern Sierras, we have 15.1 inches in blue now.
Oh, good.
Increasing by 6.6 from the last update. And we're sitting at 73% of historical average for this date. In the Central Sierras, the index is at 11.9 inches, increasing by 3.3 inches from the last update. Now 80% of average for this date. And here in the Southern Sierras, we are looking at 9.9 inches, increasing by 3.1 inches from the last update. And so we are at 98% of average for this date. The saltwater content is shown here with 2019 in the blue color. Going from top to bottom is Northern, Central, and Southern Sierras. Again, the slides don't reflect what happened this past weekend. Statewide, we are now at 34% of April 1st average and 84% of average for this time of year. Here's a look at our reservoirs. Not much change from last month, and overall, again, a bit lower than we were at this time last year.
The reservoir storage you're showing here was from
Sorry.
before the storm over the weekend? So
Exactly.
it'll take some time to see the results from that.
For Kachuma Reservoir, it's at 29% of capacity and 40% of average. Diamond Valley Lake, 87% of capacity. Again, no change, and it'll take some time for these numbers to change as the season progresses. The drought monitor did improve a bit since the last update. Imperial County moved from extreme drought to severe drought, and a portion of Sacramento Valley actually is now it went from moderate to abnormally dry conditions. This forecast comes from the Climate Prediction Center, and this map shows the likelihood of temperatures being below, above, or normal scenarios. And so for Northern California, we are having no clear signals. It could go either way, shown in the gray. And then for Southern California, it is showing above normal temperatures, probability of higher than normal temperatures for Southern California. And of course, for precipitation, we are favored for above normal precipitation. And this concludes my portion of the briefing. I'm available for any questions board members may have.
I know we had talked about at some point including the Colorado or having a separate briefing on that or update on that.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I think immediate that request, the following month's update had a Colorado piece, but I think it kind of dropped off. Maybe if we go ahead and just keep the Colorado piece on there, it can be helpful.
We'll make sure to do that.
Yeah, for example, and then probably this would evolve through time, but I know there was some press coverage on Matt moving some water out of Lake Mead and, maybe helping us to put things like that into context.
Sounds good. We'll make sure to cover that next time.
Any other questions? Thank you. Fingers crossed for a snowy week. I'll forego the sun for snow rather than atmospheric rivers of water. Don't worry about flooding. Urban water conservation. We're into the thin months, I know.
Good morning, Chair Marcus, members of the board. Yelena Hartman, Senior Scientist in your Office of Research Planning and Performance. This is informational item number 3. It's an update on urban water production for November 2018. And as you say, Chair Marcus, we are in the thin months. Typically, overall water use outdoors is lower, so there's less opportunity to reduce compared to months when a lot of water use is outdoors. In November 2018, the urban water production was 7.8% below the production in the same month in 2013. And November 2018 is the 54th month since the State Board started to collect data on urban water production each month from the 409 largest urban water suppliers. However, with the expiration of the drought emergency water conservation in November 2017, the reporting has been voluntary. And in November 2018, we have 59 reporters that elected not to submit the November 2018 report. This chart summarizes the missing reports since the reporting became voluntary in November 2017. On the far right, the orange bar shows 59 missing reports. So that's similar to the previous month. So when we brought you the update for October last month, we had 58 missing reports. However, that orange portion of the bar, 47, shows currently missing reports. And that's really what the main point here is, that the reports do continue to trickle in. So we've had 11 reports submitted since the last time. So we do see this overall creep in missing reports, but suppliers do continue to report. And on the flip side, we actually have 350 suppliers reporting for November 2018, and these 86% of suppliers represent 92% of the population served by urban water suppliers. So we know that these missing reports are from smaller suppliers, and we still have pretty good representation of the total population served.
Is there anything common amongst the non-reporters as to reasons why they give that they're unable to report? Just trying to get a better sense of what's sort of causing their non-reporting.
Anecdotally, the main reason is that it's not required, and they've been directed either by their boards or management to wait until it's required again to continue to report. But this is not a systematic response to your question. We have not really asked every single non-reporter why they're not reporting, but those who volunteered the information said, like, we're happy to continue to report, tell us when it's required again. Others have said that they're the single person who manages multiple tasks for their agency. It's a small agency, and not being required, they just are dealing with the priorities that are required. So,
I'd like to know, maybe in a future report, your assessment on that small versus, larger agency, because that might be with respect to the category where they've been directed by their boards, just, it's not required. That's a different matter. But for those that might be experiencing some challenging issues with regard to staff resources, it'd be good to know, sort of going into the next round on, other actions that we're going to be taking.
we'll take note of that. Thank you. So when we look at the results for November 2018, as well as for the duration of the voluntary reporting, dark solid line shows these preliminary results. So this is based on reports we actually do have in hand. The dashed dark line shows the estimate based on the past reports that we do have for that month for those that are not continuing to report. So in November 2018, the urban water production was slightly above 129 billion gallons, but accounting for non-reporters, it's closer to 140 billion gallons. That's slightly above the production we had last year, and 2017 is shown as a white line. And of course, this is all shown against the backdrop of 2013, which served as a baseline for urban water conservation during the drought emergency conservation regulation, and it provides some sort of point of reference where we've been last year and the year before. The almost 11 billion gallons that the reporters that did submit reports that they saved in November 2018 added to the volume saved in the previous part of 2018 adds up to more than 267 billion gallons, which is a cumulative savings of about 14% for 2018. And next month, we do plan to give you kind of like a year in review for the entire 2018, because we will have that last 2018 report when December 2018 reports come in. November residential use is 86 gallons per person per day in November 2018. That continues to go down compared to the previous month, so it's down compared to October 2018. And it's well below the 95 gallons estimated for 2013. However, we do see some uptick compared to last 3 years in per person use. November, again, it's a relatively tight range. There isn't much room to move. It's one of the lean months in terms of water use.
10 more gallons is how many showers? How long a shower? You know, we probably don't remember all our the metrics we knew so well in 2015.
I do not remember what
Yeah, that would just be
10
interesting to
gallons
think
is.
about what 10 gallons a day is. It's not that much, actually. So.
And a reminder that this is reported both indoor and outdoor use.
Right.
I wanted to leave this update with a list of communities that actually reported their total indoor and outdoor use below 55 gallons per person per day. And this list has only 10 sorted by population size. So the largest one with San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, nearly 1 million people. And these 10 are out of 33 suppliers that reported total residential use of 55 gallons per person per day or below. And as we plan to bring you the 2018 year in review next month, we also wanted to put it out there for your thought to provide us direction on how would you like to see these updates continue in terms of frequency and content, and we are looking into ways to make this more of interest, relevance, and appropriate frequency.
Questions?
So I hesitate to go down this path, but on this chart, typically what we're seeing is communities that, urban communities, coastal communities, communities that have maybe smaller lot size. And so we can all kind of figure out the coastal issue, but what's probably more challenging for me would be to sort through communities like Redwood City, Milpitas, and draw some conclusions on lot size. So is this, really a coastal issue, a climate issue, or is it also a lot size issue? And so anything that, again, not that we need to have exact information now, but just sort of ideas, things for us to be looking at as we go forward with respect to our authorities on the next round of how to address the efficiency issues, some way to help put that in better context. So to the extent, not to cause a lot of work, but to the extent that you have that information, it would be helpful to provide it and maybe, just begin the dialogue.
You know what I would say on that? Bubble charts. Always bubble charts. Bubble charts.
To me, another thing you might think about looking at are success stories. So not just areas where coastal areas like this, in most part, where they have already had low residential per capita water use for a long time, but other communities that have made that commitment to water conservation and have actually seen a large reduction in per capita use and been able to keep it off. Because I think through telling those stories to other communities that still have work to do, we can really help move things forward looking into the future. So you may have presented on that before. This is only my second official board meeting, but and apologies if you have, but as you're thinking about the year in review, just think about ways we can present those kinds of narratives.
I think sharing success stories and learning from suppliers that have been able to accomplish that is a good idea. Suppliers are relatively unique, and so we'll also think moving forward about your point, Board Member Diadamo. In implementing the water efficiency legislation of 2018, so Senate Bill 606 and Assembly Bill 1668, there is a part that Department of Water Resources and we are working on figuring out what is the objective for efficient outdoor water use for residential customers. And so that would include things like lot size, what is the irrigable area, and also what are the climate conditions. And so that is definitely something that we'll be able to shed a little bit more light as this moves along, from piloting these types of assessments in small number of suppliers to then coming up with an approach as it's mandated under the water efficiency legislation. So we'll be mindful to bring you updates on that.
Thank you, as always. Good work.
And just to circle back on your question, Felicia,
Oh,
it's
sorry.
a 4-minute shower.
A 4-minute shower is 10?
10 gallons.
So people are doing
And that's assuming
like
a
one extra shower, or
2.5
a few
gallon.
more minutes each or something?
Yeah,
I was
and that's
just trying to put
assuming
it in perspective.
2.5 gallon shower head per minute. And that's pretty generous, so. I mean, you can't have anything more than that by US EPA standards. So.
Thank you. Put it in perspective. All right, item number 4. Intriguing.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Maria Davidova, environmental scientist at the Colorado River Basin Regional Water Board.
I am Nadeem Shukri Ziwar. Nadeem Shukri Ziwar. I am the senior for the Water Quality Standards Non-Point Source Unit at the Regional Board.
And I'm Catherine Betting, the attorney for the Regional Board.
And we're here, I will be presenting the Region 7 amendment to our basin plan, which updates the Salton Sea discussion and corrects general errors and obsolete or outdated information. This amendment addresses our 2017 triennial review issues 13 and 14, respectively, and it makes editorial changes throughout the basin plan. So in this presentation, I will go over those two halves of the portions of the amendment in turn. First, I'm going to highlight a few of the more significant changes in the Salton Sea discussion. Then I will do the same for the general errors portion of the amendment. And then I will summarize other more minor editorial changes that address both. So I'll start with the Salton Sea portion. General updated information about the Salton Sea in this amendment includes the following. We revised or updated the background about the Salton Sea. Includes information such as the location description for the Salton Sea and how the sea was formed. We updated the current conditions information because it has, of course, the current conditions have changed significantly since the last time that specific language about the Salton Sea was updated, which was in 1992. So the salinity has increased, the state of the fishery has deteriorated, and the 303D list has changed slightly. So we just, for reference, we updated that information. And we added information about policy and regulatory developments that have taken place since 1992. Of course, you're familiar with a lot of those. That includes things such as the quantification settlement agreement, the formation of the newer Salton Sea Task Force, and the current Salton Sea Management Program. We also added and updated some maps. So this is a map of the Salton Sea watershed, which we added to the Chapter 1 section about the Salton Sea planning areas, just to graphically represent the information that's already there. It shows the relationship of the Salton Sea planning area to other planning areas, the extent of the Salton Sea watershed, and location of major tributaries. Okay. Also in Chapter 1, there is this existing figure, which shows all of the planning areas in our region. And we just updated it to slightly improve the symbology and make it easier to read. In the Region 7 Basin Plan, hydrologic units or hydrologic unit boundaries are used to define which beneficial uses apply to certain springs or groundwaters. And hydrologic unit boundaries are defined in the Cal Water watershed map, which is used by California agencies to have standard nomenclature of watersheds. And Cal Water consists, of course, of a series of watershed levels that are nested within each other. So in this figure, which was just prepared for this presentation and the staff report that accompanies the amendment, for example, the green and the orange areas represent the hydrologic units, and the smaller outlined areas within them that are slightly harder to see on the larger screen, but the smaller areas within them are the nested hydrologic areas. So in the Region 7 Basin Plan, the two hydrologic units that are on this figure are mislabeled. So the green area in our basin plan is referred to as the Bristol hydrologic unit, but it's actually called the Route 66 hydrologic unit in Cal Water. And the smaller area and lower half of it is the Bristol hydrologic area. And similarly, the orange area is called in the basin plan the Paiute hydrologic unit, but it's actually the Homer hydrologic unit in Cal Water, and the smaller area in the middle of that orange area is the Paiute Valley hydrologic area. So we just want to update those two names to avoid confusion in the future. And all of the other watershed names are consistent with Cal Water. Figure 4.1 in our basin plan accompanies the Yucca Valley prohibition in Chapter 4. And it shows phase boundaries of the prohibition. Now, our last amendment revised the prohibition, including the phase boundaries. However, this figure was not updated, so it still shows the old boundaries.
I'm sorry, could you explain what the prohibition is?
Yeah, it's a prohibition of septic discharges in the area of Yucca Valley, town of Yucca Valley. Right.
The phases are the timing.
Yeah, it's just there's a schedule, and it's also connected to how the High Desert Water District does the assessment. So yeah, but mostly it's the schedule. So phases 1, 2, and 3. And during the amendment process, High Desert Water District submitted a number of figures, included this figure, which shows the updated boundaries. But it wasn't included in the final amendment. So we simply propose to fix that now and replace the outdated figure with the one that matches the revised prohibition. Okay. And then other changes to the basin plan that are presented in the proposed amendment with a goal to correct general errors and outdated or obsolete information, as well as the salt and sea language, include things such as we updated and standardized some agency names. Specifically, we made sure that the Regional Water Board and the State Water Board are referred to consistently the same way throughout the entire document. And also we updated the name of the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, which changed from Department of Fish and Game in 2013. We rearranged some information for more logical placement. I think mostly it was just half a paragraph about the Salton Sea that we moved from one section to another. We standardized the section heading styles, including the numbering style and a formatting style. We revised and updated the forward in Chapter 1, Sections 1, 2, and 3, which include information about the basin plan purpose and authority and the water board structure, which have slightly changed, and also just to be more clear. And finally, there were other minor typographical and editorial errors, changes that we made for clarity. As part of the public participation process, we solicited comments from our stakeholders. So the Regional Water Board comment period started on April 30th of 2018, and it ended on May 30th. We announced it to our two email subscription lists for the Salton Sea and Basin Planning. And it was also posted in 3 newspapers that together they cover the entire region. As a result, we received 5 comment letters from 4 parties, our Regional Water Board approved a resolution or adopted a resolution approving the amendment on June 14th with errata, which included changes to some of the comments. In response to some of the comments. So we made changes in response to all of the comment letters, but not all of the comments that were in them. Oh, yes, that's correct. And then the state board comment period started on October 25th and ended on November 26th. Of course, it was sent out to the state board email subscription list and to our same 2 lists that I mentioned. As a result, we received 2 comment letters from the same party, Mr. Nikola Lakic. And we, as explained in the response to comments, the comments in those 2 letters weren't directly related to the amendment and didn't address the scope of the amendment. So we do not propose any changes in response to those letters. And so to recap, this proposed non-regulatory amendment updates the Region 7 Basin Plan through editorial changes that update the Salton Sea discussion and correct other general errors, making it more up-to-date and easier to read. And the staff recommendation to the board is to adopt the resolution. Thank you.
Questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Do a motion on this? We do, don't we? All right. Do I have one?
Move to adopt. And thank you, staff, for all their great work and time on this. I know this is a non-regulatory amendment, and there is further discussion being had in the regional board about what further sort of regulatory amendments might be made to the basin plan to accommodate the Salton Sea Management Program and the ongoing work down there. But this was a good first step just to kind of clear through, again, these non-regulatory issues and sort of technical fixes to the document. So thanks, staff, for the work. And again, move to adopt.
And if you could move back 1 slide. Oh, yes. As a photographer, I really appreciate the disclaimer. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Oh, the
Very bottom.
Oh, right, yeah. The
Yes.
Creative Commons, yes.
Oh, if you look it on your
I
screen.
can see it on mine.
Yes. It actually says this photo by an unknown author is licensed under whatever.
Creative Commons.
I'm sure your attorney had a hand in that, right? No?
I did not actually.
Didn't ask.
And meanwhile, I was trying to figure out if it was a T-shirt for the Indigo Girls or for a particular restaurant or
Oh.
a fishing boat or something.
Oh, we each have our priorities, I guess.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I thought I had a second. Yeah. All right. It's not glamorous, but important foundational work. Thank you. Item number 5, DFA. It's interesting, this one.
Good morning, board members, Chair Marcus. First, I want to apologize. Leslie Loudon had hoped to present this item, but is unavailable. So I'm stepping in, probably not filling her shoes, but I'm here. As you can see, we're asking for the board to authorize the deputy director to be able to modify terms for agreements for communities that have been affected by the 2018 fire. It's hard to see there, but we had a good representation of regional board, state board staff, both from the Division of Financial Assistance and from the Division of Drinking Water, as well as Cal OES and community, as well as county individuals there who went up, and we were able to see what happened in Paradise. And it was, as I believe Board Member Dodick talked about previously, it caused this pause. So we also wanted to give the board here with this item kind of perspective of the different fires that have happened in 2018. This is a map that staff prepared that shows all the different fires in California. It's been difficult years with all the fires that we've had. This shows, obviously, from the Division of Financial Assistance perspective, we wanted to know what impacts were going on with some of the loans that we've made for infrastructure. As you can see here, we've showed kind of a table that shows the county, the acres burned, the parties involved, and then the funding source. Now, we're going to only talk about a couple of them because thankfully, most of these that are listed on here, there weren't impacts affecting the funding source, and not to minimize at all the damage to individual homes. So now we're going to focus on the Camp Fire in Butte County. It's stated here from November 8th to November 25th. It was the deadliest fire in California history with 85 fatalities, 13,000, almost 14,000 residential homes destroyed, 153,000 acres burned, and obviously significant damage to Paradise Irrigation District as well as Del Oro Water Company Lime Saddle System. This is a map showing the fire area and the water systems that we just talked about. Just shows how much it really encompassed the area there. So now focusing on the Paradise Irrigation District. Again, as we pointed out, the community was a disadvantaged community. It was a population of 26,000 through over 10,000 service connections. Of those 10,000, over 10,000 service connections though, almost 9,000 are gone and destroyed because of the fire, 83%. They had received a drinking water state revolving loan for $800,000. It was at an interest rate of 1.6% with a 5-year term. You're going to see pictures in a minute, but they had Reservoir B replacement with a floating cover. They had pump lift stations as well as new transmission lines. And obviously the district, with that much destruction as far as their users who pay the fees for these, they need relief. This is a picture of the reservoir with the floating cover, and you can see the damage that took place and totally unusable at this point in time. These two are pictures just showing some of the things that we saw when we were up on our tour of just the loss, the water system. Obviously, the water wasn't shooting out when we were up there. They had shut this down, but this was when things were going on. Now I want to talk briefly about Del Oro Water Company. Again, it's smaller. It only serves just 1,100, residences, 382 service connections. 200 homes were destroyed with the fire. The funded construction project was not significantly affected by the fire, but other parts of the system were damaged. They currently have a drinking water loan balance of just under $4 million at 2.284% interest. It's 4 years into the repayment of a 20-year loan. Right now, if you look at it, they made their payment. But we still want to monitor the situation and ask that the board allow us, as we monitor that, to act appropriately as necessary as they move forward. So that's why that one's brought in as well. The next one, the board already heard this, but we wanted to remind that the board made a decision on this back in the November board meeting. This was, again, the Shasta Community Service District, 2,500 residents, 772 service connections. They had a loan just under $2 million, a little bit over 2% interest rate for 20 years. Car fire destroyed, a significant number, 58% of the service connections back in July and August. We are, as the board directed us, working on an amendment process for them so that they can move forward. So again, we're seeking authorization for the Deputy Director of the Division to modify terms of financing agreements for communities affected by California wildfires during the 2018 fire. As appropriate, the Deputy Director will still follow state, federal laws, but we just wanted the board to be aware that she would be looking at that and, making modifications, restructuring, deferring payments, changing interest rates or principal forgiveness as allowed by state law and federal law. With that, answer any questions.
Sobering. Questions? Comments? I know Board Member Dodick was up there.
No, thank you. I was, and as Mr. Mullen said, it was just very heartbreaking. So I definitely support this resolution. I would request, though, that as these decisions or these situations come up, and as Deputy Director Loudon considers them, that they be reported in the Executive Director's report so that we can be aware of what's going on.
Yes, very much. We plan on doing that.
No, appreciate that. We have one public comment, so I wanted to call on Adam Robin from the Northern California Water Association.
Good morning, Madam Chair and board members. Adam Robin with the Northern California Water Association. Very much appreciate your consideration of this item this morning. We strongly support the proposed resolution and really appreciate the board's consideration of this issue and all of staff's efforts, both at the state board level and the regional board. Thank you.
And I also have to give a shout out because as we saw and heard on our tour, the local agencies have just been tremendous. I mean, talk about Herculean effort and in their own backyard dealing with their communities. The courage, the commitment, everything I saw that day was just totally admirable. So I move for adoption of this item.
I'll second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks for the good work. Short item, but pretty heavy, I have to admit. All right, board member reports. I'll start on this side this time. Yeah, there's been a holiday, so maybe it'll be brief. I think I just have one thing. You never know. Everybody's looking at their calendars. What did I do since the last board meeting?
I had a wonderful holiday.
I think
my
that's appropriate.
board member
and
report.
Very well deserved.
And I did as well, but I do want to take a second and congratulate the staff from the Division of Water Quality and also their assistants, the legal counsel assistants in OCC in getting out the hopefully final draft revised dredge and fill policy
good.
for public comment. And I believe staff is conducting a workshop tomorrow in San Diego.
I believe it's on Thursday,
Thursday, okay. And then we'll have one in a few weeks. And
on the
then
22nd here.
I look forward to the board consideration and discussion of that long-awaited item. But thank you, staff, for the tremendous work in getting that out.
Great. Other board reports? Nope. Oh my goodness. Well, I just have one, which is was inspiring and sobering along the lines of the last presentation. On Friday, I went to Ken Pimlott's retirement party, and those of you who know Ken, who had been the head of CAL FIRE and just really a great leader and stellar human, I have to say it was one of the most inspiring long evenings after a 30-something year career, but it was very much of a first responder fest with the head of CHP and National Guard and other first responders from across the board. And it was just really sobering and realizing, you know, our work seems hard at times because people might be mad at us, or we can't help everybody make every rule we do perfect. We can't solve every problem, but recognizing what these guys do to put their life on the line, men and women, across the board, especially in the context of fire, where the CHP had gave the most stunning tribute because of the courage it takes to do that work. I think we romanticize firefighters and use them in our campaign ads and all of that, but there's a reason in a way for it because what they do is so extraordinary. So I just wanted to take note of it and just another tribute to Ken Pimlott as a great leader, but also to the whole suite of people who serve in anonymity, doing work every day that would terrify at least me and, you know, most people in the world. So it was put things in perspective in a way that I found inspiring. All right.
Actually, I have, one more item.
Sure.
I had the opportunity, since Mr. Mon's in the audience, to attend the Division of Financial Assistance all-staff meeting. And it was the first division all-staff meeting that I'd been invited to, and I was pleased that I learned so much by being there. So this is to encourage Ms. Sobek to encourage other divisions, to the extent that they're comfortable, to extend these invitations. I would love to attend more of these divisional all-staff meetings. I know there are the all-staff, but the division one, at least for me, I got a better sense of the activities going on in the division, many of which don't come to our attention.
Exactly.
And so it was a great opportunity. Thank you for inviting me.
No, that's great. I love it when we get invited to go to even smaller group meetings, but we don't want to demand it. So it'd be like, yeah, open invitation to people to invite us. That's great. Thank you. That was important. All right. We will recess into closed session in 2:30.
In room 230, and I don't know, probably if you'd like to take a 10-minute break before going in.
Yeah, let's
so
take a
folks
10-minute break.
And so we'll have
meet.
staff gathered there, the appropriate staff gathered there at 10:30.
That sounds great. Thank you.